Okay, I'm going to take one more comment, and then I'm going to get to Michael, and actually, I'll take two more comments because Deanna said hand up. So first, I'll go to
It's
you.
an
and then-
emotional issue,
Right.
no matter what. It's an
Right.
emotional, personal issue. And my opinion is, there is an option for them to opt out. I understand that you don't want to and single out your child, but if you feel strongly that your child should not see that portion of the video, then you can opt out. But at the same token, if you decide to have your child see it, it's a springboard for you to now have a conversation. Whether, I understand you saw that video, my view of that video is this, and reinforce your parental feelings and approach to the sexuality, the development, however you want to. But it needs to be shown. It's obviously the state regulation that it should have been shown all these years. So it's an emotional, and no matter what, there's a yes or no, but I agree with Mr. Venencia. There is a lot of people that didn't know this discussion was taking place tonight. And so their opinions are not being vocalized. It's a small group of parents that are objecting to the bigger cause.
You don't know what the numbers are
Hold on,
there.
please. Deanna?
Well, I would just ask both the school committee and the administration to, while we're addressing the issue, and whether, regardless of which side you're on, I think it's an important issue. I think it's an important opportunity for us to have these discussions. And I would like you to reconsider or consider catching up with some of those 6th, 7th, and 8th graders and make sure that the health program that is in place, that's in development, is taking care of some of these issues as well, to to make sure that some of these kids are getting the important education that they need to have as well. So don't just stop at the 5th graders.
That's one note I wrote down too, is that those kids who missed this. Michael?
I'm just making a suggestion to just get it up to sexual offense. Why don't we just do that and focus on puberty? If the state mandates us to discuss puberty, we should just focus on puberty.
I guess that's the only point I make, is that why they edited one and not the other. That doesn't seem to make sense to me. I wasn't probably around when it was edited, because it was probably 15 years ago when they started showing it. I mean, I was around, but I wasn't here.
I can guess why they edited it out. I mean,
Right.
I think there's a certain social mores
Right.
have changed slightly about girls
Right.
on this particular topic, so
Yeah.
we're certainly going to see a little bit. And that's an uncomfortable topic, and, it's all uncomfortable. But again, I think the question here, a lot of parents are raising is, does puberty include this? Well, I mean, it's really semantics at this point. I personally think that some of this is on the border, for development. But I think it's an important segue, because the next year this is going to be on the topic for the curriculum. So how do you transition that? When does that happen? And I think, there's no one size fits all. All kids are going to be different about when they're ready to receive topics. So, but again, I think it is worth reviewing. I am, very versed in this particular area, so I can't speak to it, but there's got to be a better approach, and I'm not sure editing the video is going to make a difference.
So I think we've clearly heard both sides. I know, Dr. Manville, we've put this on hold right now. I'm assuming we haven't scheduled it yet to be shown, or?
No, we have, there was a timetable that started with parents viewing the video, and then once they had a chance to see it, whether or not they wanted to opt out, then the kids were going to see it, but we've put the kids viewing on hold. We have not rescheduled.
And have we got in all the forms, do you know? Have we sent the forms home to ask the kids whether they want to, parents whether they want to opt out or not?
No, it's not.
Okay.
Stopped everything.
So I think at this point, the committee will take this under advisement. The right now it's in the administration's hands. It's an approved part of our curriculum.
Yeah.
We can't, I'll tell you that I was never aware that we didn't show the video for 4 years. So, that's a concern to me, but we can't change our curriculum tonight at a meeting. It's something that has to come from the administration, has to come from both the principals, the director of pupil personnel services, and the superintendent's office. So we can't change our curriculum. So at this point, the video has not been shown. I guess all I can say is we'll take it under advisement. I do think we ought to review what we're doing and how we're doing it. but short of that, I can't make any commitment either way tonight. And I don't know if anybody else on the board has any comments.
I would kind of hope that the administration might find a way to edit the video before sending the letters out, and then indicate in the letters whether it has or has not been edited.
I couldn't
Yeah.
object more to that, so I think the administration should review it, see if it's appropriate, if, you know.
If one school shows it, does all schools have to show it? Or is that something that?
I would say yes. I
Yeah.
don't think we can show it at one school and not the other two schools. Because when it wasn't shown to all three schools.
Right. We'll, in the next couple of days, I think I'll sit down with the elementary principals, Chris Andrew, Heather LeRae, and go over everything that was discussed tonight, both sides of the argument, get their input, redesign the opt-out letter as necessary. Probably redesign the opt-out letter anyway, because we haven't used it for 4 years. And then I'll let the committee know what's going on, and we'll go forward.
Right, because I said, it's an administrative decision. I'm glad we got to hear both sides tonight, and I do think, moving forward, we need to seriously look at how we do this and what tools we're using to do it.
Can I just ask one more question?
Sure.
Is there a way to research back when the girls' portion was edited to find out how you went about that and who needed to do that and approve that and kind of go from there?
I think we could, I don't know if we could find that. I'll say, I think we can look back and see if we can find that. But
Because maybe that would
nobody
give
was,
some guidelines or
I don't think anybody here who was in that, in the pupil personnel services, or who would be in the health area is still here now that would have made that decision. We can look back and see if we can find what those reasons were, but I don't know
Or
if
how they went about it.
right,
or
but I don't know
what.
if we'll be able to find it, but we can do that. So we appreciate you coming tonight. It's,
Thank
as
you.
someone said, it's an emotional issue, and
Thanks.
hopefully we can come up with a good solution. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, getting back to the agenda, we have continued business memorandum of understanding between North Reading Police Department and North Reading Public Schools. Dr. Mandel?
Yeah, this is something that we started doing several months ago. As you know, we have a security system, cameras around the schools and also in the schools in certain corridors. And the police department and the chief of police and the other members of the department have asked several times if they can access tapes because of vandalism or issues that are going on the grounds. We've never had a problem with allowing them to see the exterior cameras. Occasionally there might be something that happens in the building that they want to look in the interior cameras, and we've been sort of hesitant to do that. At any rate, we had a meeting, I want to say 2 months ago at least, with the principals, Chief Nolan, Tom Hatch, Mr. Venezia was with us. We worked out, Chief Nolan had given us a draft of an MOU. We worked on that. John Bernard submitted changes to the MOU from the Administrative Council. We showed them to the chief. The chief said he really didn't have any problems with them, so he incorporated those changes, sent it back to us. We looked at it. We said it was what we wanted, and we have signed the memorandum of understanding. Basically, the big thing with this memorandum is that before the police access any of the internal cameras, if possible, they will let us know. Now, they will have a connection to the cameras if it's 11 o'clock on a Saturday night and the alarm goes off in one of the buildings. They're going to be able to look in the corridor cameras. And if that happens, then they log it in and they let us know as soon as possible. But security and privacy and all those things are more than taken care of in this memorandum of understanding. So it has been something ongoing. We finally got it signed, and it was in the packet for the last meeting, but because we were doing the budget hearing, we never got to discuss it. And what I gave you is not only the packet, not only the MOU, which doesn't go into effect until May 24th, for the use of security cameras, but I also gave you a copy of the original MOU between the school department and the police department. And then there's something that Chief Nolan handed out for, I believe it's the STARS. Yeah, the STARS MOU. We're a member of the STARS system, which is School Threat Assessment and Response System. So if there's a threat to a school, experts from various police departments come over. We had an incident in another district I was in where there was a report that there was a rifle in the school that was going to be used, and the police department of the town I was in immediately called STARS, and believe me, you know, it was beautiful. It's a good thing to be in. So I just want to tell the committee that we've got that. I also want to thank Chief Nolan and all the officers involved for all their hard work. So that's done.
Any questions or comments from the committee? Jerry?
Keith, I think there was just one typo on page 4, under Roman numeral 4. Number 2, I think that should say in the first line, a live feed.
Oh, yeah, it says live.
Oh, you're right.
That's all. Just-
I'm sorry.
And just to point out to the community, the key thing here is that the police won't be able to monitor the schools during the daytime whenever they feel like it. There has to be some sort of emergency situation
Right.
or something activated that says something's going on at one of the schools that you have to look at, that the police have to look at. So they're not gonna be monitoring the schools on a day-to-day basis. And that was, you know, one of the things that I think some of the committee members had issues with. But any emergencies, anything during the weekends or nighttime where an alarm goes off, they'll have access. And they'll also have access to tapes
Yes.
for investigation purposes. However, school committee or school administrative personnel will be present when those tapes are viewed. I believe that's part of
Yes.
this. Do we have to approve, I don't think we have to approve this, do we? Is it signed by both the chief and Keith? Did we already approve it? Okay, so we approved it, and then we're just waiting for signatures. Okay. All right, any other comments, questions? Great. Okay, next, superintendent transition.
Yes.
Oh, I thought you changed your name for a second. So you,
No, that would be interim superintendent.
entrance, okay.
I just want to let the committee know that I'm in pretty regular contact with Ms. Willis, either through email or phone. I was actually went out to Triton on Friday to meet with her to go over several things, and also to get her contract signed. She is now officially on board, and as soon as she signed it and dated it and gave it back to me, then I told her the truth. But she's very excited to be here. She is going to be involved in both searches, one for the PPS director, one to replace Mr. Lassise. Has been very active in reviewing the documentation we have and that kind of thing. So the transition's going very, very smoothly.
One question, in terms of, we also have a position to fill at the high school, the assistant principal. Is that moving along and far enough along where she won't be?
Well, John hires the assistant
Okay.
principal. There were 62 applicants for that job. They are in the process of whittling it down, so I would guess that the new assistant principal will be named, if not the end of this month, early next month,
Is that a position that begins July 1st, or is that a?
July 1st.
Okay. Any other questions from the committee on the superintendent transition, or? And it's good that the contract signed, it's a 3-year contract.
Right?
We don't have the contract in front of us, so we don't have any of the details, but obviously if the press wants that, Dr. Manville has the contract.
And it's a
Pretty standard.
public document.
Right.
But it's pretty standard.
Okay, great. Next, we have an update on the high school project and also separately the facilities inspection, both involving the Mass School Building Authority.
Yes, thank you. There are two aspects to this subtopic. The first one is the building project. We have a new representative at MSBA, a woman named, instead of Diane Sullivan, who has been very, very helpful, now I have Katie Timmons, who is equally as helpful. There was a question that came up at the last secondary school building council if we knew what the base reimbursement rate was. And North Reading's base reimbursement rate is 45.11%. And then you can build on that. So if you if you do a green building, you get a couple of points. If you do